My wife even greeted me when I got home and seemed very excited to see me. I was happy to believe for a moment that this was my life, gleeful kids and a happy wife greeting me at the door. It felt really good. I smelled terrible and was covered in dirt, so I went to get changed in my room, the guest bedroom, where I now live, instead of in a room with my wife, and let me tell you, it all came flooding back. Just a deep ache and a sadness that the person upstairs was completely different a week and a half ago, and could just as easily flip right back. We are currently in a holding pattern where my wife just looks at me wondering what I will do and tries to be on her best behavior, which she is already looking exhausted by, and I try to stabilize my emotional state well enough to make it through each day without incident. Either way, I have been getting a lot of attention online and in real life from potential suitors. There are a surprising number of women of all age groups who seem to really enjoy what I am about and how I look. I really did not know that there was this much interest. I am going to start scheduling dates in the next few weeks. I don't know if it is a good idea or not. I don't know if there is anything out there worth finding, but I do know that sitting around my house being sad all the time is no kind of life. Oh, and my mom offered to watch my children while I went out on dates, though she doesn't approve of it. If it brings me closer to getting rid of my wife, she will help me do it. That woman is such a trip. Again, thank you everyone for your support and encouragement. My updates will likely be less frequent going forward, unless something exciting happens. Real life is rarely this complicated and interesting in real time, thank goodness for that. Well, it has been a few more weeks and I said I would use this as a journal of sorts, and so I shall. Last weekend I went out dancing, my wife watched the kids and I went out and had an amazing time. I went out by myself and just met and danced with whomever came along. I was out till 2 a.m. and when I got home my wife was waiting up for me. She pretended that she had insomnia, but I could tell she wanted to see when I would get home, or if I would come home at all. The more I do things only for myself and my own enjoyment, the more she seems to want to be in the marriage. I gave up so much to make the family stable, raise the kids, keep the home, but never talked about that or made a big deal out of it. Now that I am going out and doing irresponsible and impulsive things, now she likes me again? This is genuinely confusing to me. My wife and I have been working on our communication a lot. Spending most of our downtime hanging out with each other and trying to figure out how to talk to one another and understand one another better. I am already in therapy, and that is helping. My wife has expressed an urgent need for her to attend therapy, but is worried that her current therapist might not be able to help her. I think her current therapist is one of the best in the state, and one of the only ones that my wife respects, so she needs to give her another go. This hesitance on her part is a small problem now, but might end up being a major problem in the future. I have insisted on us disentangling our finances, so her and I will have our own accounts which will each receive equal money each month, and then a joint account for bills. Plus an additional account for vacation plans. Building up a separate account will free me from years of financial abuse in the form of her insisting on bankrolling her impulsive purchases from the accounts where I am attempting to build up savings. I will begin saving a safety net if I decide to pull the trigger on divorce. All the paperwork is set up, I just need to decide to move forward or not. The relationship is continuing to go well, apart from a couple of minor incidents. My wife has been largely positive, she expresses love for me fairly regularly and even the pitch of her voice is higher and more feminine around me than it had been for the last year. A subtle sign that she is finding me more attractive, which feels nice but doesn't impact me the way it used to. She also seems much happier in general and she hasn't disrespected me once or been unkind or hurtful since she did her turnaround. She clearly was actively sabotaging the marriage, as without her antagonism, the house seems to run great. It could have always been a happy home, but she decided she wanted it to be a nightmare. Having this post has helped remind me of the terrible pain of trusting my wife. I don't like making the same mistakes twice. I am pretty obviously not healed, and some of my sadness has turned to resentment, which is not healthy. But I am still struggling to be just okay, which is harder than it sounds. So that's it for this update. Thank you again everyone for the kind words and support. I will likely be going out dancing every weekend for the near future. I am trying to set up plans for a vacation. My wife wants to do our honeymoon this summer, which we never got to take. We were too poor and too busy being parents to our 2 young kids at the time when we first got married, so we never went on our honeymoon. I believe that she is hoping to rekindle something, we shall see. I haven't done any official dates yet, but I have had some women I have met in my day-to-day activities outside the house flirt pretty aggressively with me. Also, I had a married couple around my age try to pick me up when I was out dancing. I entertained it, but my life is already more complicated than I would like, and that seemed like a big bite to take so soon into my little adventure. So I ended up turning them down, but not definitively, we shall see. I have spent the time since initially posting lifting weights pretty aggressively and have lost about 10 pounds of fat and gained some muscle. So I am pretty summer ready. I am going to continue working on myself and doing what I need to in order to meet my own needs. I will update again when I have something to say. Until then, be kind to yourself. Father's Day was a nightmare. My wife had a huge emotional outburst right away in the morning, and had been getting pretty angry and reclusive leading up to Father's Day, which is nothing new. It turns out that her mother had called her first thing in the morning to remind her that her father abandoned them, and that she should celebrate her on Father's Day. My wife's response was to have a breakdown and take it out on me, in front of the children, and then retreat back to her room. She eventually apologized, but whatever, it wasn't the worst Father's Day ever. Even though I had neither presents, nor cards, nor events, nor kind words from my wife, my kids gave me lots of hugs and told me they valued me. So that was lovely. Our marriage had been slowly improving and our discussions have become more frequent and open, though we still have not directly revisited the affair. A couple of days before Father's Day, my wife shared with me her intention to take advantage of our open relationship status at some later date. She told me that she was just not a monogamist like you are. I told her that I wasn't interested in that kind of marriage, and she said, "Well, I guess that makes me a slut. Are you gonna stay married to a slut?" To which I replied, "I guess for now." Then she hit me with a real big piece of information. "Well, I thought you weren't monogamous too, for a while." So apparently she thought I had cheated on her, and because our communication is so poor, she decided to make our relationship open as a response, and then went out with this other dude. After I initially confronted her about the affair, she realized that I had never been unfaithful, and that's why she had such a huge turnaround. She was having a revenge affair against me, but I had never been unfaithful. She still won't specify what made her think I had an affair. I assume it was when I was spending a ton of time doing volunteer work. There is a lot to explore there, but after that the conversation broke down and she retreated to her room. I don't actually think she is interested in an open marriage. I honestly believe she just had an affair and is still doing this open marriage to justify her behavior to herself. She would absolutely have another affair to prove that this is what she wants, rather than admit that she had an initial affair out of misplaced malice and insecurity. I have been going out on weekends, dancing mostly, and meeting fun people, and she stays up to see when I get home, and is deeply jealous the day before and after. No dates exactly, just meeting people and having fun dancing and talking. Nothing in her behavior says that she would do anything other than collapse completely if I was sexually involved with another person. Clearly she needs to go to individual therapy. I am already seeing an individual therapist, but so far our sessions have been mostly me just explaining what has been going on, since the subject matter is so dense. I don't know if there is a path forward here. I know she has gone back to referring to me as her husband, and there is some physical touch reappearing in our relationship, though I am the hesitant one this time. Also, she has clearly done the initial STD and 6-week follow-up doctor's visits. She said she needed a doctor's visit for shots 1 week after the obvious affair, and then went 4 more shots 6 weeks later, which is the timeline for a follow-up. Claiming a need for different vaccines. Pretty unbelievable coincidence, and I am not stupid enough to believe it. It also shows that she is maintaining a willingness or need to lie to me. I am still getting my ducks in a row and planning for a divorce, but honestly it is difficult. In order to not tip my hand, I need to keep my guard up, but if I keep my guard up I can't heal the marriage. So here I am, planning for a divorce is the most likely way to make it happen, so that's probably the road I am on. Sorry if this update isn't super focused. I am more using it as a journal, so it might be progressively less focused as time goes on. Thanks everyone who keeps sharing their insights and support. This has been and continues to be a weird journey, but my anger has largely subsided, and I am starting to feel more myself. And I think a large part of that has been me being able to share this as I go. Update 7, things are finally improving. The man she had an affair with tried to reach out publicly on her social media. He was upset that she had been ignoring his messages. She did not block him, just ghosted him and made their affair public.